Hello and welcome to the Week 3 Pick'em Picks. And as always, we're here with Kevin Osborne and Ryan Mowry in conjunction with Southwestern Lawn and Landscaping, a fantastic company for your yard care and industrial landscaping needs. And we present the college football picks as solid as the Blue Ridge Mountains. And Kevin, those Blue Ridge Mountains were looking pretty solid this past Saturday, weren't they?
They really were. We were both down there for the Virginia Tech Middle Tennessee State game. It was a good game. Very glad we didn't see a letdown like the Hokies have had before. Unfortunately, what happened to our tight end James Mitchell.
Yeah, it's a big loss.
It seems like he's quite a team leader, and so I think he'll still play a big part in the season off the field. But
Well, we'll be moving into the agenda for this week. This week's agenda page is convicts. It's a controversial topic, but guys like Johnny Manziel, Mike Vick, Cam Newton, two of which I probably like more than I should.
yeah,
And then Cody Janelle, the bottom right.
he was the Virginia Tech kicker back when we were in middle school, and he robbed somebody with a pizza box.
Yeah,
He
something
had a
like
gun
that.
in there, but
Yeah.
he's opened up a barbecue and blues restaurant down in Pembroke, Virginia. So I think he's on the right track.
Yeah, he's on the way up, but we'll go over a nice recap of week 2 games. Go over the week 3 slate of games. Excellent slate this week. A lot of good potential for upsets. Then we're going to break down our professional picks, going with the DraftKings odds this week, and then we'll be wrapping it up there at the end. So let's go over last week, Kevin.
All right, tough go of it last week. I've noticed a trend in our picks. The first few games, I think, for the first half of the games, the last week we got one wrong. Week 1, we had all of them right up until a certain point. So we're just going to try to shake off the fatigue. We've spent a little more time thinking about the second half of our picks. Those West Coast kickoffs. I think that's what's throwing us off. But I think we also we're back. We're going to be better than ever with these picks. We got some new slide animations, so that's going to definitely help the teams we picked win. Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think we picked enough upsets last week. I think Kevin took that constructive criticism to heart, and I think we're going to come out strong with some upsets this week. And what did I see, Kevin? What was the statistic? It was 12 top 25 ranked teams have lost this year. That's the most ever within the first 2 weeks. So that's exciting, and we're hoping to ride that wave into week 3. I mean, that Iowa win was big for us betting wise, which was pretty cool. But other than that, had a lackluster week. We didn't pick a lot of big upsets. So we'll see how this week goes.
Yes, we will. So this is the slate of games we will pick this week, and we start off with some good noon games this week. There's Cincinnati, I think number 6, maybe number 8, and they're
Number
playing
8, yeah.
at Indiana. There's Michigan State at Miami, and then Virginia Tech at West Virginia, all kicking off at noon. So action will be starting right away.
Yep.
We have Purdue, Notre Dame, Alabama at Florida, Virginia at North Carolina, Auburn at Penn State, and we finish it off on the West Coast, Arizona State at BYU, and Fresno State at UCLA.
Yeah, nice 10 p.m. kickoff for those who
Mhm.
can't sleep on a Saturday night. And the theme for this slide is a good one. We have nameless Heisman quarterbacks. Guys like Ty Detmer and Eric Crouch. I think that's Jason White, who you probably never heard of, and probably never thought of if you're in your mid 20s like we are. So we'll get on to the first games of the week. Kevin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so this Cincinnati Indiana game, we should really let you go through it because we went back and forth on this one. Um, we went back and forth on this one, and I wanted to do Indiana. We thought about it. We ultimately, as you'll see here, we ultimately went with Cincy to win. This is going to be a road game. This will be an interesting test for Cincinnati, but it was less of Cincinnati's abilities, more of Indiana's kind of inability to shore up some issues in the passing game. They had a big win last week against Idaho, but their starter, I think, still threw for under 100 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game, but yeah, we just didn't see enough to think that they'll be able to handle, such a talented team like Cincinnati.
Idaho is the first team in the FBS to voluntarily relegate themselves to the FCS. I found that out because I saw they were playing Idaho last week, and I looked at Idaho and I was like, what the hell? Why aren't they in the FBS anymore? I think they were like in the Sun Belt or something like that.
Yeah.
Because they play in the like this dome, this really weird dome in the middle of Iowa. Really strange. So just a little fun fact about Idaho there. And I said Iowa, I meant Idaho.
All right. On to the next one.
Yeah, so we've got Michigan State, Miami here. Our pick here shouldn't really indicate that Michigan State is not a good team. We think they are a good team. I mean, they beat Northwestern week 1. They'll probably have a decent year in the Big Ten, but I think this is going to be the game where Miami starts to really jump back. They had a big win against Appalachian State last week. Appalachian State's a good team. They got crushed by Alabama, but I think that Appalachian State win put them on the right direction. This is also going to be at Miami. I think this is a good game for Miami to win. I think this is where you'll start to see ACC teams get back into the swing of it. So with that being said, Kevin, we picked Miami to win at a high confidence level. We really think Miami's going to take this one.
Yeah, I think as the season goes on, this Appalachian State win they had last week will prove to be a decent win. I think that the App State team looks good, poised for a decent season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next one, kind of the game of the week, at least for us, Virginia Tech traveling, number 15 Virginia Tech will be traveling to West Virginia, where they are the betting underdogs. 3-point spread, low scoring contest is according to Vegas here. But, we break down sort of the keys to the game. If West Virginia is going to steal one at home, they're going to have to really light it up from their running backs. Their quarterback is potentially the least mobile quarterback in the whole country. I didn't put the stats here, but I think he's got something like 40 rushes, maybe 60 for negative, 400 yards in his career. So I think taking away the duo threat, even Sam Howell for UNC, he's not known as a scrambler, but he's athletic enough to get downfield. So I think, if West Virginia is going to win, they're going to have to get a lot of running production out of their backs. And then, against Maryland, they had 2 big kick returns, a 98-yard kick return. Then they had one that went for about 40, but the guy barely stepped out. It would have been a touchdown if not. So then the other key point is avoiding second half turnovers, which is ultimately how they ended up losing to Maryland in week 1. And what we say is that Virginia Tech is excellent in those facets of the game so far, shutting down the run, good kick punt coverage, and forcing second half turnovers.
Yeah, for me, it really depends on B. Burmeister here. He's going to need to step up this game. He's actually the team's leading rusher right now, just because we have a committee back system. Yeah. But I think our running backs are going to need to step up. Braxton's going to need to step up. I mean, really the entire offense is going to need to step up when you lose a guy like James Mitchell, who completely changes a defense's dynamic tight end like that. So it'll be interesting to see what Virginia Tech does, but ultimately I think they're going to squeak it out. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a nail biter though. I really it becomes a defensive slugfest. Like we've seen some games,
especially on the road at West Virginia. They're going to have, even though it's a noon kickoff, they're going to have a rowdy crowd. So, yeah, it'll be a big test for Virginia Tech, especially with the unfortunate news about James Mitchell with this season-ending surgery. So, on to the next one, Ryan.
Yeah, so Purdue Notre Dame. This is pretty straightforward. I know Notre Dame's had 2 close matchups, and Purdue is on track to have a pretty decent season. A big win against Oregon State. That's not a bad win at all. UConn is pretty rough. I think there's another pick we were looking at with a 64-0 victory against UConn. So I don't think that's a big win for them. But Oregon State's a big win. Purdue, I wouldn't be surprised if they play them like how Florida State and Toledo have played them. But I think Notre Dame's going to win. But Notre Dame's going to need to. I mean, they're going to need to shape up this season. Playing teams like Purdue, Toledo, and Florida State close. It's not going to cut it even when you start playing teams like Cincinnati in a couple weeks, Wisconsin. These are teams that, if they came out like they did in these last 2 weeks, their defense came out specifically. They're gonna get smoked. Not smoked, but they'll lose a game. But their quarterback's good. Their offense has been solid. They'll need to improve on their rushing game a little bit, but ultimately Notre Dame's going to win this one.
Yep, and with Purdue not having their starting running back, I think that's just another factor that puts the game in Notre Dame's win column. I think what we're predicting this week, the kind of underlying trend is that a lot of these ACC or ACC adjacent teams that have struggled will kind of get things back on track with Miami and Notre Dame. So now this is probably the biggest game of the week, even though it might not be the closest. Alabama is traveling to Florida. So, the first thing you think of is the games at Florida. That's a tough environment to play in, but Alabama was able to win that neutral site game against Miami. They've kind of been the one consistent thing in college football, last year and at the start of this year, especially with all the upsets that have happened. So, no real surprise. I think most analysts have Bama winning this one. It just seems like Florida's got to shore up some things on defense. And I think they still need to find their identity in the passing game. They have a bit of a QB controversy going on there with the second string guy. I think has kind of the fan appeal. So it's kind of the last factor is Florida's coach, Dan Mullen. He's never beaten Nick Saban. He's 10 times he's tried, 10 times he's failed. So we're going Alabama. Medium confidence. I think a lot of people will be rooting for Alabama or for Florida to get this upset. So medium confidence though.
Yeah, Virginia, UNC. This was another one we talked about for quite a bit as well. Virginia, I mean, they're not a bad team as well. That win against Illinois was pretty large. I ultimately think they're going to be an ACC contender. However, I think more so than Miami, even this is going to be the game where Sam Howell, Mac Brown, and the Tar Heels really kick it into fifth gear. I think they start getting into conference play. They're going to want to make that championship game, and I think they're going to they're going to start winning games like these. I really do. With that being said, UVA's won 4 straight games against the Tar Heels, but I think UNC is they've shaken off their blues from Virginia Tech. And I think they're going to take this one with medium confidence, just because I think UVA, there's a good chance they play them hard, play them close.
Yeah, UVA has had North Carolina's number, so we'll see if Mac Brown can kind of get over this hurdle. The next one on here, this is maybe the most interesting matchup of the week. Auburn traveling to top 10 Penn State. Penn State's had they've already been tested this season where Auburn has not. Obviously we picked Wisconsin to beat them on week 1. Didn't work out. I think Wisconsin should have beaten them. There's a fumble at the 1-yard line late in the game, and they kind of coughed it up. So we think that with Alabama's high-powered offense, granted against 2 not so great teams, we still think, and one other disclaimer is that their quarterback does not play. Bo Nix does not play that well on the road. If you see the stat line down there, he's completing 63 of his passes, 15 touchdowns and 1 pick at home. But on the road, that goes down to 54% completion, 9 touchdowns and 10 picks. But we think Auburn's running backs, Jarquise Hunter and Tank Bigsby, like we say, they're scary good. So despite all the good things I've just said about Penn State, we will be picking Auburn to win with medium confidence on the road. It's the Penn State whiteout game, so we'll see. This one might come back to bite us, but they're the betting underdogs too, so that obviously makes the bet a little bit more enticing.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, Kevin. And then Arizona State, BYU. BYU is coming off a really big win last week against Utah. That was a good competitive win. BYU has started showing streaks of their season last year. Obviously, they don't have the just raw talent they did, but BYU reloaded. I think it's as simple as that. Arizona State, not a bad team at all. They've shown to have a great rushing game, but I really think BYU is going to take this one, Kevin, don't you?
Yeah, and so you'll see our pick here, and one of the reasons we made this was in BYU's win against Utah. Utah was coming off a week 1 performance where they kind of shut out like a softer team, the cupcake game. They held that team to very few rushing yards, and it was looking like BYU wasn't going to stand a chance last week. But they ran all over them. Arizona State similarly has a great rushing defense through 2 games against low caliber opponents. So I think BYU will kind of shock them with their rushing game. With that said, we're going low confidence because like these West Coast games have gotten us before. So we can't say we are highly confident for any of them. And that brings us to the last game. We got Fresno State at UCLA. This was a tough one to pick because UCLA had such an impressive win against LSU. Almost similar to the Hokies win against UNC week 1. Only time will tell how good LSU and UNC actually were and whether or not those wins were as impressive as they seemed at the time. Fresno State, they've already played 3 games this season, which kind of puts them, if you think about it, 1 week better than a lot of the other teams. They beat UConn, poor UConn, 45-0 this time.
Yeah, that was the other game. Purdue crushed them, but so did Fresno State.
Yeah, we'll pick one of their games here for 2.
I wonder, have they scored a point yet? I mean, if they're 0-2.
We'll have to check that one, but it's looking like not. The Fresno State game against Oregon was one that when you look back at it, when you look back at the box score, Fresno State should have won that game by a couple scores had it not been for their fumbling. Oregon was able to score 17 points off of 3 fumbles inside Fresno State territory. There you see one was even at the 3-yard line. So this game we go back and forth. Is UCLA for real? We said no.
We don't think so. We think UCLA is gonna flop on this one. We think Fresno State's a good team. I'm not saying UCLA is a bad team, but also Pac-12 teams kind of have a tendency to start to lose at this point in the season. I don't think that win against LSU is all that impressive. I know we really talked about LSU week 1, but in the end, I don't think they're going to be all that great. So I go Fresno State here.
Yeah, we will.
Good betting favorite as well. This is a good betting upset to pick.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
And so next week when we put the video out, you can see if we were right or if we were wrong. Ryan, would you like to wrap things up with the conclusion?
Yeah. So I think week 3 is going to be electric. These past couple weeks have been great as well, but I think this is going to be another good week. A lot of what we've been seeing. We now know we can do a parlay. We never really considered that in the past. So I think we're going to mix things up and start to parlay some of these games. Parlay like half of the bets like on the game and half the game, half of them parlayed. So we'll decide that probably game time like we do most of the time, and lock your picks in. And this week on the conclusion page we've got the big boys, the offensive linemen. Defensive linemen. I think Terrence Cody and Glenn Dorsey were actually D linemen, but they were like way too big for the NFL.
Yeah. I think they both played, but not super successful. The Auburn buffet busters on the offensive line.
Yeah, I googled fat NCAA player, and that picture of Terrence Cody, which was already on here, was the first image to show up.
Yeah.
So sorry, Terrence Cody, if you're listening.
Big boys there.
All right.
So this is. You want to take a quick snapshot of our picks. You'll see we got 4 underdogs picked here. If this week is anything like last week, that will probably end up being a good guess. We've decided the later games we're going to put it lower and lower confidence because that seems to be where we trip up. But for these first 4 or 5, I think you can lock it in and be assured that we got these right this week, hopefully.
Lock it in. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.